Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to the 8th episode of the Daily Roam. Um, I am one of your hosts, Forget Myface, and Spill is here as well.
Afternoon.
Yes, afternoon, at 3 a.m. Um, so, uh, first off, just to start, thanks for all the support, guys. We appreciate all the comments we get, on Reddit and in-game, and our channel and everything. Our website is thedailyroam.com, and the in-game channel is the Daily Roam with spaces. So please stop by, say hello, ask us about anything. It's all good. And yeah, I mean, before we get into it, I just wanted to say thanks to everyone who has been hanging out in the in-game channel. We're slowly getting more members in there, and it's always nice to log in and actually see some people in there other than myself. Um,
Yep, definitely.
Anything you want to add before we start, Small?
Last week I had really terrible mic feedback, and I apologize for that. I think we should have corrected that tonight. So hopefully it won't be terrible.
Yeah. I mean, you still sound like you're recording with a garbage can or something, but at least I can talk at the same time as you, and people don't hear me twice, so that's good. But yeah, no worries, guys. Spill will eventually get a really good working microphone. His just exploded, so it's awesome. Um, okay, so to get into it, the first kind of fight to start off the week, and this was actually, it feels like it was forever ago, but it was a small gang of us. We had 5 people, and we ended up going against. At the time, we didn't realize it, but it was a Bombers Fire gang. Uh, and so, real quick, our comp was 3 caracals, rapid light bellicose, and a scythe is what we ended up flying in there against them. Um, so I don't know. How do you feel about that comp? Does it work well? Does it have synergy? Is it trash? What do you think, Phil?
Um, I think there was good synergy with it. Um, I think the only thing I would have preferred better is if everyone had rapid light missiles. But otherwise, overall, it was a solid game.
Yeah. So 2 of the caracals were ham fit, and one of them was rapid light. And I mean, the idea of not going rapid lights is to be able to have a little more DPS. But I don't know, the game we ended up going against, we would have done much better had we all been in rapid lights. Um, but yeah, so what we ended up doing was it was a pretty uneventful roam up until we got to it was BWF was the system. I could be totally wrong, but it was an entry system, and there were a bunch of bubbles. And there's 5 of us, and we warp into the gate, and there's like maybe 15 dudes, and they all like warp away basically, right? Like they just left. They didn't want to fight us, did they, Sol?
No, yeah, definitely they were just no, we're not going to do anything, and just kind of bounced around attacks while we sat there and tried to get them to shoot us.
Yeah, so that was, I mean, it was kind of frustrating, and I mean, I guess it's just whatever how their FC was, telling them to do it, and we killed a couple things, a couple bombers, and then so their gang was basically it was primarily bombers, and then the rest were like frigs, interceptors, and cruisers with maybe 1 or 2 battle cruisers, and they had links for sure. There was an Omen or an Omen Navy on grid, and he was going like what was he going like 6K, or am I just making that up?
Yeah, no, he's going 6K.
Yeah, like so he was hauling ass. He was going way too fast. Um, but yeah, so we couldn't really like get them to fight us in like a good brawl or whatever. And then they kept getting more and more dudes. And I mean, there's only 5 of us, but like we're in Whelp cruisers. We're kind of happy to take the fight. Um, and I think the only thing to really mention about it, other than we did end up killing quite a few of them. We killed what like let me look at it. We killed 3 bombers, couple tackle frigates, a caracal, and a kitsune. And we ended up losing our entire gang except for the bellicose. But Iskwise, we actually came out like ahead in kills, so that was cool. But the other thing that I was kind of thinking about it is I was like we were so eager to get them to engage us. That finally at the point where it became clear that they were engaging us, I never made that switch from the whole like we're trying to bait them into a fight to the whole okay they're engaged, let's like burn away and kite them. So I think that was like the main reason why I died, and maybe even our scythe and maybe you Spill died, because it was just I never like called for us to align because we were all just kind of sitting there plinking at things, and then all of a sudden there were overwhelming force on us, and we're all taking a lot of damage, and we were never like committed to burning away because we were so committed to trying getting them to fight us. I guess is the problem. If that made any sense.
Yeah, I think that's like a pretty fair assessment. Like I definitely remember like we were sitting there and we're like, come on, fight us, fight us. And then finally they did work down, and it was just kind of like, I guess we'll just sit here and shoot them, and then we never really did too much maneuvering, and one by one we all died. I know at a few points like some of us could have left, but I think also some of us were just so eager for a fight where it's like we're just gonna sit here and try and blap as many bombers before we die.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, I really wanted the fight, and so I never aligned out and left. I just stayed there and died. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It was pretty chill, and we could have done more with it if we wanted to. Um, but I don't know. It was kind of a long roam to the system, and we were tired and just wanted to explode. I think was the biggest thing. But
Yeah.
okay, so the next thing, it's kind of I mean the story itself or whatever isn't that great, but we're going to talk about ninja warping, and I may have talked about this a little bit more in the past, but we had some pretty fun success with ninja warping in this last week. So the first example is we're in FCon territory, and they're being really cagey, and they don't want to fight us. They have 5 times our numbers in local, but they're all docked, and so we get the idea to just we're gonna try ninja warp them, and if you don't know what ninja warping is, it's basically the short version of it is you invite someone to your fleet, and as soon as they undock, or they're AFK on a pos or whatever, the moral of the story is you invite them to your fleet and you warp them into your gang, whether it's off the station into an insta or off a pos to a wormhole or whatever. But yeah, we invited a Vexor Navy to our fleet, and as soon as he undocks, we insta warp him off. And the funny part was as soon as he joined fleet, he was asking like, "Oh, is this the home defense fleet?" And we're like, "Yeah, bro, yeah, just undock. We swear, like we'll help defend things with you." And then he insta warped, and then afterward he claimed that he was trying to trick us, but we warped him too quickly for him to be able to trick us. So I don't know. I was pretty happy with it. It was like 150 mil, and we were on like a Oracle and a Jag or something. Oracle, Jag, and Omen, I think is what we had. But earlier against these guys, me and Frank Zane, one of the newer guys in Corp, he's a solid player. We went up. We had kind of an interesting fight. Um, so to start it off, he was in a dual ASB Jag, and I was in a self-repping armor Omen, and we're dicking around on a station. And there's a Tengu, there's like a Kane, a Drake, and something else. I'll look for the battle report in a second here. But I mean, just with those ships, what do you think our odds are of fighting anything or killing anything in that? Oh, there's an Enyo too. That's what it was. What do you think? I mean, so I don't know. What do you feel about that, Phil? Enyo, Drake, Kane, and Tengu, and we're in like a cruiser and an assault rig.
Tengu, Drake, King, Tengu. You might be okay. Like, I would do. I would probably try for the Inyo and the Kane, if I can split those off. I mean, if you can get them like one by one, I would try for any of those by themselves with two of you.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, that was kind of the idea. And we did end up splitting the Enyo from the gang. And this whole time, I think Sen was burning to us in a Talos, and Mike was burning to us in an Oracle. But yeah, we ended up splitting the the Enyo from the gang, and we ended up just destroying it. Like Frank Zane had mad tackle on it. I shot the purple lasers, and it exploded. But then the Drake and the Kane ended up warping off to the sun and warping back on us at zero, and the Tengu was kind of non-committally burning off the station toward us. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, in a brawl versus a Drake and a Kane, my Omen's not going to do very well. But we knew that Sen was close, so what we ended up doing was, well, we had Frank try and get point on the Drake, uh, but the Drake warped off, and then he was trying for the Kane, and the Kane had like maybe 220s fit or something, and he ended up volleying Frank through all of his shields because he's dual ASB and doesn't have a buffer, and into like half structure. But then Frank was able to establish an orbit and keep him locked down. But it was kind of interesting. Like the dual ASV was really really strong when he was brawling the Enyo, but against the Kane he almost got killed in one hit. So I thought that was a pretty interesting part of it. Like there's just the contrast in it. But then he was able to get under the guns, and I was able to stay kind of out of the range of the Kane and plink on him, and then finally the Talos and the Oracle landed. Um, and we were about, I don't know, like 2 seconds from pointing the Tengu before he was able to get out. But we killed a few of them, and we're pretty proud of it, even though Frank was in half structure. But yeah, I mean, all is against the FCon guys. I don't know. I wish they would undock and fight more, but I guess I kind of wish that about everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that is funny. That down to like half structure. That's been a theme lately. All of us just returning in like less than half structure.
It's been pretty cool. It's been pretty sweet. But yeah. But so then the other part of the ninja warping is we scan into this wormhole, and it's exiled ones, and so they're completely AFK. Like they just, I don't know what they're doing. They're all just sitting there AFK, and there's two piloted orcas sitting on a pos. And immediately, what are your thoughts on like the chance of ninja warping an orca? So
Um, pretty okay. Um, I mean, they pretty much align and warp like as slow as a dread or a carrier, even. So it definitely takes some time, but it's possible. People don't usually understand like why they're in a fleet with people they've never seen before, or they just don't bother to check, I guess.
yeah, yeah. So in my opinion, I think it's pretty difficult because it's really easy to ninja warp a pod. They go into warp instantly, but when it takes 20 seconds for your ship to align, like full align from zero, and then warp off your pos, there's a lot of room there for them to cancel it. Um, but anyway, so I send a fleet invite to these two orcas, and one of them gets declined instantly. Um, and I'm like, okay, whatever, and I'm getting ready to leave actually, and then the other orca just accepts fleet, and I instantly warp into the wormholes, or at least initiate the warp, and I'm like screaming at people. We have a few people formed up because we wanted to get a fight out of exiled ones, but they were just non-existent, I guess. And so the orca's slowly aligning, and then in fleet he just gives me a question mark. So he's trying to, maybe he accepted it like a convo to be like, why is a random inviting me to fleet or something? But it was kind of hilarious. And then he entered warp, and then we were ganking him, and he ejected at half structure and gave us a free orca. So there's no kill mill for it, but free orca from a ninja warp was pretty fun. So I was happy with the ninja warps. But yeah, I always try the ninja warp if like nothing's happening and I'm bored and I've roamed too far or I'm too bored to turn back and do something else. I think it's definitely worth it. Um, okay, so next we've got directly after last week's podcast, kind of. I had the idea to to try out some like 100 MN fits. Um, and it really comes from so Lead Farmers, our corp, has this policy where if you lose a T3, you get the hull and the subsystems reimbursed, and you just have to pay for your fitting, which is basically to encourage people to pimp out their ships and to not be afraid to like fly expensive stuff into combat. And so I was kind of thinking about it, and I want to try eventually to start doing some solo in some some pimped out Tech 3 ships, especially because we have this nice reimbursement policy which helps to offset some of the cost. And to do that, though, I want to get more used to the idea of using an oversized afterburner. So what are some of the difficulties associated with like an oversized afterburner spill?
Um, the agility of it, or lack thereof, definitely. Like once you get up to speed, because of the mass addition, you're a freight train going in one direction, which is it's a double-edged sword. So while you can't necessarily like turn on a dime, you can just keep going forever. Um, and because it's an afterburner, you can't be scrammed, shut down. Webs definitely still affect you in a very bad way, but overall, it can be a very powerful tool.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, I mean, yeah, the main bonus is it's really hard to tackle. You like webs, you have to be afraid of. I mean, things with ECM also suck, as I discovered when practicing with them. But in general, it's pretty fun and it's an interesting mechanic. So I came up with some fits. The first one I came up with was a 100 MN Omen, and I kind of flew that a bit more than I wanted to, but only because I hadn't finished training my T2 medium rails yet on the thorax. I've got them trained now, but so I started with the Omen, and it was pretty cool, like to be able to jump into a relatively small gang, blow a couple dudes up and just burn away infinitely and escape. And I did lose quite a few of these right away. I think I lost two or three of them in Providence, like seconds after I had formulated the idea. Uh, but it really just it took some practice, and I think I finally got to a pretty happy place with it, where I can use it to the full extent of its ability. But some of these, I mean, they fit. 100 MN afterburners fit really well on like an Omen, and they fit pretty well on a Thorax. So I would encourage you guys to just to mess with it. I'm not gonna go for the full fit. I think each one had like one or two fitting mods. Nothing too crazy. And the other thing is, ideally, since I will be eventually flying these with like pimped out uh, T3s, like I would probably be using like links and stuff. In the practices, I wasn't, but I could definitely see looking at like the stats with links on it how incredible it would be. Like, the Omen, I think its Sig was like just about 70, maybe even lower than that, and the Thorax was a little bit higher, but not much. And I mean, it goes like 2K a second when it's fully spooled up, and it's just it was pretty cool, and it looks like it will be a lot of fun, but it's some way down the line. I don't know, but anyway, yeah. So that brings me back to a fight that I had with them, or with the Omen, which was really cool. It actually kind of the 100 MN was. There were a few situations where I died, and it was like I'd have died with an MWD or 100 MN, and then there were a few situations where I killed things, and I'm like I'd have killed them whether it was an MWD or 100 MN. But this roam, it was me and the 100 MN and Omen, and Frank Sane. I mentioned about him earlier. He was in a Tyrannus, and we started in head GP, and I don't know. So what are your thoughts on like the Tyrannus as a partner for the 100 MN Omen? Was I guess we'll talk about that first.
Um, I don't. hmm, I don't know if I would necessarily go with it right off the bat. Um, I guess because I don't know. I guess the question is like, what role were you trying to fill with the Tyrannus, or is it just like I have a Tyrannus, I'm gonna bring it?
Yeah. Okay. So the issues that I was running into, um, is getting webbed. I mean, anything with a web on me, a fast frigate with a web, just puts me out of commission. I was using my scram defensively when I was burning away from people, but I'd get in a situation where something like a firetail or a dramiel or something would burn in and web me, and I'd just be like, okay, now I'm webbed forever. So the Ranus was really like anti-frig. Is kind of what the Ranus was for. Um, and I mean, I guess as anti-frig, the Ranus is maybe not the best, but it's also really fast and able to hold tackle on things, and it actually brought a lot of utility to the fights that we had. I think.
Yeah, yeah. I guess as anti-frig, like, I'd actually put the Randomness up there really high. Like, it's just ridiculous. At least from what I've seen. Um, Yeah, so in that sense, I would definitely go with the Tyrannus. Like that's a good call, I think.
Yeah. So, and I was pretty happy with it. And so basically, to set this fight up, we ended up warping to a gate, a little bit off a gate, and there was a gang. There was like a saber, maybe a flycatcher, a couple Cinnables, couple T1 cruisers, and a couple fast tackle like Dramiels and stuff. Um, and so, I mean, initially, yeah, there's two of us, and we're in weird ships for this, and the odds don't look that great, especially against the Cinnables and things like that. But we just kind of fucked with them a bit, and worked on splitting them up, worked on them getting bad warpins and stuff, and we ended up actually like separating some of the cruisers. I can't remember exactly what we killed. I know for a fact we ended. Oh, yeah, okay, right. So we separated a scythe. It's kind of a weird thing to separate, but he warped in at a really terrible angle, and we were able to get him all by himself, and we isolated him and killed him. And then there were two Dramiels, and one was kind of like burning in to tackle me, and the other one actually ended up warping to the scythe and getting a tackle on me like right away. And how do you feel about like the 100 MN Omen versus a Dramiel that's tackling you? What is that bad? Is that good? I mean, can I kill it? What do you think?
Um, I think with the Tyrannus there, um, your chances are really good because you can still hit the 100 him in and still have good speed, unless he's like double upping you for whatever reason. But I'm assuming he's probably like shield fit or.
Yeah. So this spoiler alert, I killed it because I can see his fit, but he had he had meta guns, which is a bad call to start with. He had two
Yeah.
overdrives, and then he was micro warp, shield, long point, and scram fit. So he's completely useless against me. It was actually really fucking amazing. Um, and so yeah, what I ended up doing was just aligning, hitting the afterburn. It was ideal. We brawled down this scythe, and then Frank burned off because I'm pretty sure there was a Cinnable on him, so he burns off, and I just aligned to the sun, hit the 100 mana afterburner. It takes me forever to accelerate, but eventually it's at the point where the Dremiel has to run his MWD to stay on me, and as soon as you turn the MWD on, I just purple lasered him to death. Uh, because, I mean,
Yeah, that's
he's not going to have
glorious.
a huge SIG because he's a Dremiel, but it was enough, and combined with his crap transversal and probably piloting skill based on these metaguns, he exploded really quickly. And I was free, and Frank was free, and we ended up getting out. So that was really cool. And then a little later, we caught like a saber on a gate, killed that, and then took a fight against like a 20-man goon gang that we should not have taken, and died. But but overall, it was really fun, and I don't know. So the other kills I'd gotten in the 100 MN Omen were things that burn away and blap a saber, or burn away and blap this, and it was just so I hadn't had any that were like, oh, the 100 MN is king. But had I been in a micro warp Omen, I would never ever have been able to get the range I needed on that Dramiel and been able to blap him down. So it was pretty fun, and it made me excited for the future and to try out other fits and everything like that. And I actually came up with a an interesting fit that I'll talk about a little later that kind of goes along with this theme. But yeah, so I had a lot of deaths in 100 MN stuff trying to learn it, but it was kind of fun. So then so the next thing I guess I'll talk about is Providence. We had some fights in Provi, right? We had one wormhole that was pretty active for like a whole day, right?
Um, yeah, I can't remember when that was, but
Okay,
yes.
okay, so you sound confused, but Provi was awesome. We had this wormhole where first thing I went out there in an omen and I ended up separating a heretic from his gang and killing him. And then we had a brawl with a Brutix Navy that ended up killing me when he was at like 96 structure hit points left and warping out, which would have been really epic. But sometimes low structure theme of the week really.
Seriously,
96 structure hit points. He probably beat you for your record later, but
I
yeah.
think
So
so. Yeah.
he ends up getting out. Then a little later we form up. with like a couple augers. I bring a battleship for the lulz, and it's kind of a kitchen sink armor gang, which is weird for nullsec. Not many people were used to it, but it was kind of fun. Um, and
Oh, this fight. Okay.
yeah, so we jump in, and there's like a battleship that lands on me. I'm baiting, and the battleship and like a you know zealot and like some other stuff like that kind of thing land on us, and I don't know. Basically, I call the gang in. Everyone's in, and we're fucking with them. We're beating stuff up, and then all of a sudden, a couple more battleships land, and Thanatos lands on us, and we are like Providence. They don't typically use things like capitals, so we're not prepared in the least for this Thani to have landed on us. And uh, long story short, we lost, but the interesting part is we were really close. Like, our we had people reshipping, and the first like what we needed was more reps because they had a lot of neuting battleships on us, and we were never going to break theirs. But if we could hold our reps up, then we had a really strong chance of of being able to hold the Thani until we had the DPS to break it. But the thing is our two augers, they don't generate as much cap, and they were one ET augers, not two. So they definitely don't generate as much cap as a guardian, and they have a really hard time holding reps up under newts. Because I mean they're T1 cruisers. It's you don't expect to suddenly have five battleships with newts and newting the crap out of you in the middle of a fight. But yeah. So what ended up happening is we broke our reps broke like right as our other guardian jumped in, and then we had him
Yeah.
run back, and we didn't even bother to have him aggress because it was like our reps had broke, my battleship was going down, Hidden was in an Astarte, which he almost made the gate. He had like literally 1 second left when he exploded, and it was really close, but we ended up killing a few of their stuff. They definitely won the score a little bit, but I don't know. It was pretty interesting, and we were really close to actually holding that carrier down and actually being able to kill it. So maybe next time, I
Yeah.
guess.
Maybe. Yeah. Uh, it was so close. Like 10 more seconds for like our guardians to jump in and like throw up energy transfers to the two augers, and it we might have been able to hold. So one of those if that had happened scenarios. But overall, like I don't know. I'm hoping in the future probably drops more capitals and that we can be prepared because I'd really like to kill probably capitals.
I I completely agree on that, and that kind of got me thinking about you know some I don't know, some stuff like right now I have basically my main account and an alt, and they're both trained fully for subcaps. And by that I mean like battleships and down, and I didn't really have an interest in training for a capital. Um, mostly out of me being uninformed and a little bit out of kind of seeing the way that some people that have them are just so afraid to use them or drop them on things or whatever, and all the cost that goes into it. You see a capital explode in a wormhole, and I mean for good reason because there's limits on them and everything and all the pressure that they're under. But you see one explode in a wormhole and it's 5 billion flat. Like it's gonna be Dead Space, it's gonna be like super Dead Space X type tanked and fully faction fit with like all the things you would ever need in your cargo hold and everything like that. And so it's a little intimidating. But I mean, a while back we had a little while back now, I guess 2 months maybe only a month. I don't know. We did an op where we had battleships and we had triage carriers on standby, and
Yeah.
we ended up whelping gloriously, but whelping the caps gloriously, but killing a bunch of stuff, and it was a lot of fun. But it kind of got me thinking, and especially after that op, I was like, how cool would that have been if we had a dread that I could have like logged in, lit a Sino, and dropped it on that Danny, and then just blapped it out of the sky, and it kind of made me start to think about that and the idea of, well, you don't have to be risk averse with your capitals. And I talked to Mike, who was kind of the one who orchestrated those suicide triage carriers, and I mean it's actually really really not expensive to lose capitals. There's a big
Yeah,
hassle.
if they're
Yeah.
Like the sorry.
Yeah. Well, okay. So to get into it, uh, obviously, insurance is the biggest part, and well, okay. So there's a couple of things that I'll talk about, but insurance is the main thing where you're getting your money back. You lose about 20% on the whole with insurance. So for something like a nag, it's like 2.5 bill, maybe a little bit more than that. So don't quote me or whatever. But I mean, losing 20% on that is, you know, I don't know, 400 or 500 mil. My math is probably terrible.
So 20, yeah, 400 or 500 million, yeah, because
Yeah,
20% on each bill is 200. So yeah, give or take.
yeah. So around 500 mil, and then fittings, and obviously, yeah, you want to pimp where you want to pimp, but the thing is for certain situations, if you're only losing, 500 mil plus fittings, and these numbers are probably inaccessible to some of you listening to this, but it's to put it into comparison in our corporation, everyone flies around in T3s that when they explode, yeah, sure you get the whole back, but everyone has about a billion skin fittings on their T3s because of the mass limits, because of the pressure that everyone's under. Um, and really, without talking too many numbers, it's about as expensive to whelp uh, a blap dread as it is to lose a fully fit T3. And that was really surprising to me and really shocked me. And it was like, yeah, I get there's a lot of hassle to get it bought and to get it moved and to sino it and this and that. But in general, the idea of having capitals on standby for case space roaming is really it's really intriguing to me. I guess is
Yeah,
the where
like
is kind of where it's at for me.
yeah, like cost wise, it's the same. Like like you said, it's different. Like actually moving it and using it, and um, like when you're using T3s, like the only support you really want is maybe like some Jam Tengus and definitely some Guardians. Whereas with like a Capital, you have to have a support fleet with it. Like for a Blapjed, you have to have webs and paints for it, and then for that, for your subcap fleet, you need support for that as well. So there's definitely some work that goes into it. But overall, um, if it's one of those things that you can afford some more expensive ships, then you can probably afford a capital.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was the thing is you know all the people I fly with, like I see them, they're flying their billion ST3s. They have cap pilots, and only a few of them I see drop them on things. I'm not trying to hate on anyone or anything, but I think it's just and I guess the biggest thing for me too is like, so small example is our corp. We're trying to get everyone to have like a solidified shield doctrine. That's like like hey, it's a pulsar. Everyone fly shield. But it's really hard to do that, and for me, like I'm trying to push for it, but I'm not even really trained up to fly anything other than like maybe Drake Navy or Nighthawk, like things like that. I don't have a Tengu trained, I don't have a Loki trained, and so it's really tough for me to push people to fly something that I can't do myself, and to fly it a certain way that I can't do myself. So it's the kind of thing where you have to lead by example, and so in my mind, basically, I've started training one of my alts into a Naglfar. Uh, and I think the Morris might actually be better for this stuff that we're talking about. But there's also the opportunity of using that Naglfar as a super tanky shield nag in the wormhole for certain things too. So that kind of weighed in heavily to my thoughts on it. But yeah, I'm training my alt for a nag, and he should be done within 6 months, like ready to fly it, good to go in a nag. And I'm really hoping that I have a lot of success dropping it on people, and a lot of fun whelping it when I drop it on people and get counter dropped and stuff. But I don't know. So that's interesting. That's something that I got thinking about is the idea of utilizing cheaper fit capitals for I don't know, killing things.
Those.
Yeah, for the fun of it. Like if we're all gonna go into battle in billion ST3s, why not have something on standby that could be really
That
fun.
would, yeah, and especially since we also have an SRP for capitals, which I guess I'm assuming applies for K space.
I would hope
But I
so.
don't
I mean,
actually know.
I'm not trying to like abuse it or anything and like just throw capitals away and make the court pay for them, but at the same time, we could definitely have more fun with them. We could definitely do more things with them, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah, and that's something that we've talked about recently. Is that like if we are a PvP corporation, like we should be able just to like, well, not be able to, but we should encourage people to PvP anywhere, anytime. regardless of where it is, so that they can build up experience, and overall just PvP and more is always good.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And that's the thing is, I mean, if you're not willing to lead by example, and if you're not willing to like educate people and teach them the right things to do, then I don't know. Like it seems kind of like a waste. So that's why like I've been trying to be more proactive, getting people, out in ships and flying and exploding and having fun. I guess that's kind of my, I can't complain about people not PvPing enough if I'm not teaching people how to PvP.
Yeah, that's very true.
Um, yeah. So then, so that's interesting. Alts and plans and things and considerations. I don't know. I still feel pretty naive about capitals, but at the same time, like it doesn't seem. I feel like maybe it's not quite as elite or oh you have to do so much planning or this or that for like some of the things we could do. Obviously a capital is a big responsibility, and as soon as you get it in it, everyone's trying to kill you. But at the same time, I feel like it could be used in the way that I'm describing here. But I mean, in 6 months I'll know, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes the best way to learn about stuff, like how to fly ships and stuff, is just trial by fire, um, because you learn a lot by that.
Yeah, yeah, and it's an expensive trial by fire when you're talking about capitals. Um, but at the same time, like I kind of see there's some things you could do to practice for it. Like maybe even flying battleships, which I'll talk about kind of at the end of this cast, which I've been doing a little bit. But the idea of just practice, like the same thing with those the pimped out 100 MN T3s. I'm trying it in T1 cruisers for a start, just to get the hang of it, and then I'll do more of it. But okay, so moving on to another kind of fight engagement thing, and I don't think you were here on this one, but uh, I don't know. What do you feel about like bringing bubbles on rooms? So like small rooms. How do you like? Do you think that's useful? Do you think it's a waste of time? Like, if you have cargo space for it, is it worth it to bring a bubble?
Um, yeah, I think so. You can definitely, it can definitely be a huge help, because it gives you an advantage with, I guess, the terrain, quote unquote, is that you can set up a trap, obviously, and you can also control how other people will take fights.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So basically, we're in a few tier threes and a semi, and we're in the system, and there's a nightmare that keeps it keeps shooting my oracle, and he's got way more DPS than me, and I can't really hold him. And then as soon as our Cinnable with tackle landed, he would warp off, and then same thing, rinse and repeat. And so what we ended up doing was anchoring a bubble on the station, and it was terrible luck. They actually, or not on the station, between the station and the pos he was warping off to. But long story short, he ended up logging, like right as the bubble had anchored, and he totally didn't have eyes on it either. It was just like, oh, I'll do this 10 times, and the 11th time I'm not going to, and go to bed instead. But we almost had it. But they ended up undocking like a horde of drakes and maulers, which is the weirdest kitchen sink fleet I've ever seen. But it was just like,
Dude, shield,
no, no, go
man,
ahead.
shield
Yeah.
mauler. It's where it's at. It's where it's
Dude,
at.
yeah,
Shield
it
mauler.
was. They were like all shit fit, and the Maulers were armor, and the Drakes were shield, and we ended up killing a couple of them. But I mean, it's been cool. Like I feel like there's things that I used to be really upset about in PvP, like going out and roaming and not getting a fight, and that almost never happens to me anymore. I'm almost never frustrated with like, oh, Eve is dead, there's no one anywhere. I feel like I almost always get a fight now, and even more often than not, I kill something before I die, even if I do die or get blocked. And I think that's awesome. I don't know if it's me and my playstyle that's changing, or if it's just Eve growing up and people undocking and fighting. Like, I'm not sure what it is, but it's feeling really good. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you have to agree on that?
Yeah, I think so. I think I can't say anything has um, like there's no like direct changes that I can point to and say like, oh, I'm doing this better now. But I think it's just maybe we have a better idea of like where we want to roam, by looking at Dotland, and also understanding like what ships are capable of, both like what the enemy flies and both like what we fly, um, and also you kind of after a while, you get a sense of like what people are kind of going to do when you roll into the writing system, um, or at least have maybe a good general feeling. Um, and so you can kind of like, I don't want to say anticipate, but you're not like shocked when like three golems on dock.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It's no more of these realms where it's like we're sitting at zero on an undock and then a bunch of Macarials undock on us and we're like, what the fuck? And then we die and we cry. Like, we're pretty open to the idea that they're about to undock a million Macarials on us and we just wish we had a support fleet behind us, but we don't. Um,
Exactly. You start carrying Sinos.
and that's the thing is like if someone undocks Macarial on me and I'm within Sino range of my nag, why would I not drop that thing on them? Like, why not?
Seriously.
Or whatever. But so this is a good transition. This whole Cavalier Dread thing kind of transitions into our Kill It with Alcohol, where this week we kind of wanted it low key still, but we did form up people, and we had about 30 people in our home, and we rage rolled. Which, for those of you who aren't familiar with wormholes, it's basically you just get a rolling fleet, which is like a few battleships or an orca and a dreadnought, and you just roll wormholes in hopes of rolling into one that either has people running sites or has people who are willing to fight you. And in my opinion, rage rolling is dead. It's just super fucking dead. When I first started playing in W space, before the scanning changes, before new SIGs popped up instantly, and you had to actually scan for them with a probe, um, there were times where we would roll into people, and we would land on grid with them while they were running a site, and they wouldn't even know we were there. And those times are gone. Now it's like I swear we haven't caught people mid-site ever. Like, and now it's only like, oh, you hope that their dreads are in siege when you roll in, and you hope that you land on them and kill them, and it just never fucking happens. And I feel like rage rolling is just I mean, C6 space, we tried rolling that before in the past. There's no one who lives there now but farmers. C5 space, there's no one in C5 space who fights us. Not to sound cocky or whatever, but we're huge. Like, we're a huge fucking alliance. We have 500 dudes, and people feel like all 500 of us live in the same wormhole and are logged in at the same time, and they won't fight us. Like, we did an away op, and fucking like the second that our triage carrier landed on field, we had a new connection, and the triage carrier had just gone into triage, and like, so in a way op, basically there were 10 of us, multi-boxing things and doing stuff like that. But we had 3 dreads and 2 carriers, right? Or did we have 4 dreads as well?
I think we only had 3.
Yeah. So 3 dreads, 2 carriers, and a couple subcaps. There's very few of us. And obviously we are prepared for PvP on these away ops, but we're really vulnerable on them. And who was it that rolled into us? I don't want to call them out or hate on them, but do you remember?
I honestly can't remember. But yeah, like it was definitely interesting because well, I guess I'll let you finish the story, but
yeah,
it's just like we're like, oh, this is a big C5 entity. We're about to have a fight on our hands, and then
yeah, so yeah, exactly. They roll in, we got a new SIG, our carrier's just gone in triage, like their scouts jumped in, we're like, holy shit, like that, there was a Loki on scan, like they're ready, they're gonna dunk on us. And we're like, fuck it, let's commit. And so we warp in all the rest of our caps, to the field, ready to fight these guys in sight and protect our Archon that was in triage. And the next thing we see on scan is a fucking Moros, and they're rolling the goddamn hole on us. And it's just like, what the fuck? Like a serious C5 entity. We literally only have what they had on scan. It wasn't our home. They knew that. People know where our home is. They knew we were in a farming system, undefended tower, and rather than fighting us, they just rolled out. It's not our prime time. Goodbye. And then just wormhole closed, and we continued to run sites in Horror Isk. It was just, but that feeling of there's no one who sees kill. And maybe I'm wrong, but I don't feel like there's anyone left in W space who sees, it's lead farmers, and then forms up a fucking fleet to fight us. It's more like, let's get intel, let's amass numbers. Oh, we only see 6 people on, so let's bring 12. And like, I'm fine with this. I'll still take these fights. I do not mind fighting outnumbered, but the idea of rage rolling for a fight just, and this really solidified it for me. It just feels like that's not how you find fights in W space anymore, and I'm not really sure how you do find fights in W space.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just to touch upon um, I think you mentioned uh, like right before they closed their connection, they're like, "Oh, it's not our prime time or whatever." And like, I don't want to. I guess I'm gonna play devil's advocate a little bit and say like maybe it was possible that it was just like, "Hey, we need a connection to like move some shit out or something," and so they were just like chain rolling for like a decent, a decent chain. But it does happen to us even, um, where we just don't have dudes to fight. Like right now in TS, we have three people, um, including us. So there's one dude just sitting by himself while we're sitting here recording. Um, but yeah, back to the main point of Rachel, and like it's, I think we find better fights when we just happen across another entity that just happens to be on our chain. And I don't know. Personally, I find that whenever there's like another large wormhole entity in the chain, there's bound to be like a couple others. So like you always have like all the big entities connected to each other somehow, or at least you always see their scouts. You're like somewhere is like disavowed and bitten, and like everyone. Um, but yeah, I think chain rolling, like literally the numbers are against you for rolling into someone. Like it's
Yeah.
just yeah, like it's just almost impossible.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And I mean, I don't know. There's definitely some people who have tried to fight us in the past, and we haven't been able to form the numbers up. And I do understand that, but it's just, it's that idea of, I feel like, and I mean, I'm not. I guess I sound like a big complainer right now, but it's that idea of we can legitimately have six people on, and the other people have six people on, but they won't fight us until they have 12. Um, and our numbers
Yeah,
don't increase during that amount of time, and and I know that's that's just how it is. If we can't increase our numbers when we have a fight on our hand, then that's our problem, and not anyone we're fighting, and not anything else. But it's just I feel like if we were a lesser known entity, people would take more risks against us. Uh, and I would encourage people to take more risks against us because we're not gonna warp in 12 capitals to the hole if you fight us in our home when we have three dudes on. You know, we're not gonna do any of that really dickish shit that could happen and that people
yeah,
are afraid will happen. We're not gonna have, if we tell you we've got six dudes on, we don't have 20 logged off. Things like that.
exactly.
But it's whatever. It's the game, and I completely understand that people aren't trustworthy, and it's just kind of the state of W space right now. But I still love W space. It's good ISK. There's lots of connections,
Yeah,
for us to go out and pew in, and whatever. I mean, I don't need to be flying a T3 or a Guardian to be having fun. And if I did, I would. I'm in the wrong game because I don't know where you can do that all the time, every time, any longer.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. So we're not washed up bitter vets yet. But yeah, no, definitely. Like a lot of people in kill, I would say for the most part, have like I guess you would call it a sense of like honor. Like if you give us a fight, um, like we'll like let you go. Like if you like jump into us and like roll the connection, you like Leroy three caps. Like and we have people to fight you. We're not just gonna like log in our whole cap fleet and just like go GG. Thanks for the free kills. We want fights just as bad
Yeah,
as everyone else.
yeah, and I fucking hate the idea or the term of honor. And I completely disagree with it. I think people who have it are fucking retards. I'm gonna say that right now. Sorry for using retard offensively, but I'm not sorry for calling people retarded, because that is just dumb. E-honor is stupid. But in my opinion, uh, if you blob someone, you're not going to get a fight with them next time. If you talk trash
Yeah,
and they form up and you don't fight, they're not gonna fight you the next time. They're not gonna care. They're not gonna form up. They're not gonna. So fuck e-honor. But yeah, dude. Like, you know, I encourage things that don't make people never want to fight us. That's kind of my opinion.
yeah. I would agree with that. Like that's why I was just like that was like
Yeah.
my definition of like honor is like what I called it, but I was I didn't have better words to describe it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we use damps. We fit damps on our legions. We call for damp legions because rather than calling for like 10 ECM goos, that it's just because it's not fun to get ECM'd out. And I mean, ECM is strong still, and AMP's really strong. That's not the only reason, but in my opinion, like, I would prefer a few legions with AMPs to try and break their Logi chain than having everyone bring Falcon ults. Things like that,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not fun when you're perma-jammed by a fucking Falcon. It's probably not fun either if you can't rep, but it doesn't feel quite as bad, in my opinion. When I'm roaming in nullsec and I jump a gate and there's a Saber Falcon camp, that feels really shitty, but I jump a gate and there's 6 dudes and they end up killing me. I feel way less bad because it just feels better.
The fight wasn't, yeah, the fight wasn't completely out of your hands, and that's what ECM does. And that's the thing with dams. It's like, okay, so the logic have to come in closer, so you're not necessarily like locked out the fight. It's just like, okay, I have to pilot my ship a bit better, and so you can still be a logic.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so then kill it with alcohol. We rage rolled. And to conclude on that, I guess, we rage rolled, nothing happened. Then we had a null set connection, and this guy Yabby in our corp, cool dude, has really shitty dread skills, but has a dread and wants to lose it really hard. He's been trying really hard to lose his dread since he got it. And basically what we ended up doing was I fit a bait cane with a Sino on it, and I brought a couple shitty ships, and the rest of us, like we probably had 20 people now at this point, all in Guardians and Armor T3s. And we went out into Gentleman's Agreement's home system and kind of poked at them a little bit. And we're pretty drunk at this point. I don't have the best judgment going on, and I'm really excited. And I've been thinking about, let's drop dreads on people, let's do this, then let's do that. And so the idea was basically we were gonna bait a fight out, and we were gonna drop a dread on it, and hope that they, dropped on that to kill it, and we could fight them with our armor T3s. And that didn't happen, did it?
No, we dropped on an assault frigate gang.
Yes. Okay. So what happens is I'm sitting there off the station in my bait cane, and I'm like, all right, something's gonna happen. And then suddenly a horde of ships undocking, and I'm like, everything's undocking, guys. Like, I don't know what I was thinking, and I wasn't really looking at what they were in and stuff. And I'm like, everyone go, sign us up. And then the fucking revelation lands on field, and I'm like looking for a primary, and I'm like, holy shit, this is an assault frig gang. They had like 10 Navitas and like 20 fucking like retributions or vengeances or something. It was ridiculous. It was really ridiculous. We should not have. But yeah, Dread lands on field, sieges up, blops at Talos. That's like the biggest thing on field. And I don't know. I mean, yay, gentleman's agreement. You brought a fight. You undocked. But we had 4 people in local when they undocked a 30-man gang. And then as soon as we landed the dread on field, they were like warping out and scrambling and panicking. And there were 60 people in local when we dropped the dread. 60 gentlemen's agreement in local. We dropped the dread, and then there were the local slowly climbed. Like after our dudes were there, they had 90 dudes in local, and we had a T3 gang obviously and a dread, and we ended up jumping the dread out. And then we're heading back home. We're like, hey, fuck you guys, or whatever, undock please. You have 90 of you, there's 20 of us. This is ridiculously overwhelming odds. We want to fight, we're ready for this, and nothing happened. We even gave them a time frame, like, 5 minutes, we're leaving, guys. We're leaving 5 fucking minutes, get ready. And nothing, they did nothing. And we're heading home, and Redamok, pretty drunk, right, would you say? On a scale of, like, drunk to drunk?
He's blackout. He's blacked out.
Yeah, so he's just a Redamok.
Love you, Redamok.
He's like
fucking hero of the night.
Dude, superhero. He's like dual boxing or triple boxing, like a scout, a combat ship, and our links. And
oh yeah. So sorry to back this up a little bit, but Redamok was with our initial fleet, and so was I. Like he was with the bait cane, and he had a shield oracle, and then we had like something else, and then I was in the guardian, and then we had another guardian, and so they primary Redamok in his shield oracle, and we're able to keep him alive with armor ups. It was amazing.
It was pretty nice. So flawless victory against Gentleman's Agreement so far.
Yes.
And against our Salt Free gang with our dread dropped on it and blapping things. It didn't blap anything. It dealt 0 damage. So Dred's back home, sitting on the wormhole, and it's going to close it when it jumps in. So we're starting to move back home, and there's a rapier that actually lands on grid with our Dred, and he's like, "Holy shit, rapier on grid!" And the rapier warps off, and we're like, "Well, clearly they know where our wormhole is, but clearly they just refuse to drop on us," which was really disheartening. And so we're all heading home. We're all in the main system, all warping back to the wormhole. And then Redamok, super drunk, doesn't have any idea what's going on. And we just hear him be like, "Oh God, there's a rapier here," and we're like, clearly that rapier is not in system with our entire fleet, so we don't know where he is. And then it proceeds to be like, "Oh, Red, where? Where's the rapier?" And he's like, "Oh God, I'm tackled." And we're like, "Red, where are you?" Everyone, and I'm like, thinking he's behind us. So I'm like, everyone realign. And then it was like, "Oh God, the Sino's up," and we're like, where the fuck is this? Clearly not in this system. We have no idea where he is. And we're all warping back to the gate. We're like, everyone, warp back to the gate. Warp back to the gate. And then the drunken intel keeps coming, and it's like, oh God, the Sinos up there. They're all here. Everything's here now. They're all here, and we're like, what? Who is they? Where are they? What are they in? And he's like, I'm dying. They're all here. Everything's in. So just absolutely no intel. And then one of our guys manages to jump his cloaky scout in, and someone links Redamok's kill from like the corp kills, and basically they dropped a rock fleet on Redamok. One lone shield oracle behind our gang, and they dropped like 60 rocks on it, something to that effect. I didn't actually see the fleet, but that's my assumption. Is there were 60 fucking rocks on it, and I don't know. That's a little ridiculous in my opinion. I mean, sure, 60 rocks dropping on a Dread to kill it, that's cool, but 60 rocks dropping on a fucking oracle. Weird. And why the fuck did that rapier not light the Sino on our Dread on our wormhole, and then they just funneled rocks into our home and jumped them back out and closed it on us, and now our Dread's trapped and we're committed. Like, they could have done 100 things differently. But instead they drop on Redamok and then they trash talk. And basically are like, oh, we were forming when you left. We're ready to fight now with our fucking 3-to-1 odds and all of us in blaster rocks or some shit. But I kind of wanted to take that fight. No one else did. And our Dread pilot needed to go. And when he needed to leave, he was going to close the wormhole, so we had no real choice. But I don't know. It was kind of frustrating. I really wanted to like find a gang to fight, and I really like wanted to fight them, and they did eventually form up, but it was way too late. Like way too late. The response time. And I'm not really sure what the reason is. I'm not sure what the numbers was not the issue. Like that, this was not one of those cases where it's not our prime time. They had 30 dudes jump into local from the time we dropped our Dread in the 5-minute timer to the time our Dread was gone. I wanted to fuck. They should have just the Titan they used to bridge from that rapier should have just doomsdayed Yabby, and it would have been GG. We had no hits.
Seriously. Yeah, I don't. I guess like nullsecers just look at like PvP differently, and like maybe they try and mitigate losses. I don't know. I've never been in a large nullsec alliance, so I can't say like what their thinking was. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really understand it either. But whatever. They formed up, too late, too much, too late, and we were gone. So we ended up jumping home, and that was really the end of Kill Without Call. We went on another roam in Caracals with Redamok, not knowing what was going on and getting squad warped around, and we went up like against 20 MOAs or something. Like, oh, and so K-Sig, hero of my life. So far,
that guy's stories.
So far, man, he's like warped his Orca into his own POS without putting the password in, and we saved him in like 20% structure. Right before as we were leaving, I'm like, okay, everyone jump back. And Kasich apparently had the gate selected and clicked jump with his Proteus and exploded in a fire into that rock gang. So he did suffer a casualty. And finally, I don't know. He tells a good story. He's a good guy. He's game for PvP and he's awesome, but hilarious. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So Kasich gets scouted this gang. He's like, yeah, there's like 4 MOAs, and so we fit up like 4 Caracals and a Scythe, and we're like, we're gonna dunk on these MOAs.
No, there's 2 Scythes and like
yeah, okay.
Anyways, yeah.
Whatever. It was like really, they had they had MOAs and Scythes, and we had Scythes and Caracals, and they had like 20 MOAs. They did not have 4 MOAs, so we died. But Kill It With Alcohol was good this week overall. After that, a little later that night, we had a different nullsec, and I don't know. This is kind of a shout out to these guys, not really, but Zas Proteus Logistic, I think. I don't know if I'm saying that right because it's spelled all weird. But they're a renter corp in Northern Associates. And we went out there in like a really small gang, maybe six of us in T1 cruisers. Uh, and we just kept splitting their gang over and over again. They formed up tier 3 battle cruisers on us and like warped to attack and were trying to snipe us. And we caught like a drake, we caught a rapier, we caught a couple other things, just things that would just like they had an onyx and a couple scythes, and we're like, okay, so whatever, let's just keep splitting them. And we split them again and again and again. Like all of them aggressed, we jump. Oh, this one guy jumped and he died, and that was really fun. So we're on T1
Yeah.
cruisers, and we just over and over again we split them. It was glorious. Um, and then basically we're talking to them. We're like, hey, we wish you guys, like uh, actually fought us or something. Like there was one time where we got a warp in on top of them at 0, and then we actually it was only at 0 on one tornado, which was like 30 away from all the other tornadoes, and we're like, holy shit, we're all gonna die, and they warped off. So we were just like, okay, whatever, whatever. Um, and basically, we're talking to them, and I mean, they knew we flew T3s and Guardians, and they'd formed up maybe like a 15-man fleet to fight us. Finally, after all this, we were getting ready to go home, and then we actually were home, and then they had jumped in a 15-man fleet, and we had six of us online. And we're like, okay, they have 15 dudes or something. And at the start, it was two semis, and then the rest were like in shield cruisers. And we're like, this is a lot of dudes, but we have six of us. Like, let's just man up and do this, right? That was kind of the thought,
Hmm.
or am I? Yeah, I mean, that was the
No,
general
it's
idea.
definitely like, yeah, yeah. It was like we wanted to fight. Let's do it.
Yeah, so we matched their semis. We grabbed two semis, because one semi would just die instantly, and then we grabbed four DPS ships. We had two Sleipnirs, a Thorax, and a Ferox. And I mean, it was the kind of thing where we were pretty sure we were all gonna whelp, but we wanted the fight. And it was actually a lot closer than we thought it would be. So, initially I kind of fucked us up, but I feel like they wouldn't have jumped into us, and it would have really frustrated us. But I ended up hitting jump on the gate anyway, so we never will know. And we'll just assume they would have jumped in, and it would have been differently. But I accidentally jumped my Ferox into their gang. And so the initial idea was just, okay, we're all gonna decloak and we're all gonna burn back and just see if we can tank them. We're all gonna burn back to the gate at 0
Yeah.
and just see if we can tank their gang. And initially we could, right? Like we were doing pretty well.
Yeah, it was going okay. I think when it turned tits up, what had happened was that their vigilant, who we almost killed, was able to web Archie, and 90% web on anything means low transversal, and so
Yeah,
the applied damage went up a lot, and so reps can hold on Archie. So Archie went down, so we're down to one semi, um, and about halfway through, like Archie breaking, he was like, "Guys, I'm breaking," and so I think you called the degress, or someone called the degress. Anyways, pretty much like we heated hardeners, and we just all like reapproached the gate because we knew it was time to leave. And then so yeah, Archie goes down. Then our second scimitar goes down, which was Mike, I believe. Yeah, Mike. And then they target your Ferox. Um, and then I was next in my Sleipnir, and I get out in 7% structure. um, that was that was pretty dicey and hairy, and possibly some of the most fun I've ever had. Escaping from a fight, like that was hilariously amounts of fun.
yeah, yeah. It was good. It was good. So yeah, we lost our Logi and my Ferox, and I mean we went 60 like 15, and it was fun. One more DPS ship. Had our Thorax Ben in another Sleipnir or something. We'd have broken their vigilant, and then potentially kept going. It could have been the straw that broke the camel's back or whatever, but it was that close. It was very fun.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, we're hitting about an hour, but I can touch on two other things that I wanted to talk about really quick. Which the first is I came up with a 100 MN Execure fit to couple with our 100 MN cruisers, and it was pretty fun. Same concept. It didn't, I don't know. I didn't have quite as many fights as I wanted with it, but we had a really good fight in head GP, right?
Was it GP? Oh, yeah, yeah. Um, so, wait, I need more detail. Sorry, I lied. I don't know what we're talking about.
Okay, well, you're a terrible human being, but we don't have to talk about it too much. But we had 200 MN thoraxes and my 100 MN execure, and we were able to like disengage from the gang multiple times. And we didn't quite have enough projection with the thoraxes; they still needed some work on their fit, but anyway, we were able to 100 MN around. The 100 MN execure was sweet. It was a success in my opinion. But yeah, there's nothing really to discuss there other than Mike getting blapped by. We were fighting a Hyperion, and then a tornado warped in, and it blapped Mike.
Yeah, no
And that
buffer
was
skills or fits. Versus Arduino at range. Bad times.
it was really bad times for Mike. Yeah, he died hard. But and then the last thing is this idea that I kind of came up with maybe yesterday, I think. Yeah, yesterday. Whatever. We'll go with that. And it's basically flying every ship that I have the skill to fly from A to Z in the game. And trying to get clips and footage and making videos of it. So I started with the Abaddon is what I started with because it's the A or whatever, and it's a battleship. Which how do you feel about battleships, Phil?
Um, I wish we could fly battleships more because they're just fucking awesome. Like, downright awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of what I was feeling. I'm like, I was worried about this battleship, and I put an MJD on it. And I've never really had experience with MJDs. And I kind of feel like, oh, whatever. If someone scrams me, I just die, and it's gonna be useless. But we take this battleship, this Abaddon, out into Losec, and we gank a Vexer who was bitching that we had warped the. I was like on D the whole time, and he just cried. Um, and then I'm 100 off the gate. Yeah, like I warped to the gate at 100 to kind of get eyes on it, and an AFK autopiloting 85 lands on the gate, like burning toward it, and I'm like, "This is your time!" And I align and I MJD down, and I basically like one shot the 85, and I was really happy with that. I was just like, "Yes!" And it was the
It
best thing
was.
ever. And so already op success. I'd felt that the battleship was well worth it. Um, and then we go into one of the entry systems to the Losec pocket. What was it, like Kermonen, I think it was. And I jump the gate, and there's an Execure sitting 70 off the gate. And then there's a Vexer, a Thorax, a Tristan, and a Proteus. And I'm like, this looks good. Like, this looks definitely like what I want. And so I align to the Execure, and I MJD in that direction, which puts me 30 off the Execure and away from their gang. And I mean, long story short, force the Execure off. We kill the cruisers. Spills in a triple rep merm, right? That's what you were in.
Yeah, it's after burning triple rep merm. It's literally the same standard triple rep merm fit with just the afterburner set the micro warp, so I can fit a full rack of heavy electron guns.
Yeah, yeah. So spills in that. Spill dunks on the Vexer. I end up blapping a Tristan who had no transversal for some reason. And then we warp around the system fighting the Proteus. But the Proteus had like a long point Scram and a SIBO fit or something. I'm guessing on the SIBO, but he didn't have any useful mod there. So I was able to jump away, like MJD away from him and escape like multiple times. And I ended up the last time landing on the station, still with an aggression timer and having 8% structure left. Because it was a little ridiculous, but so the Abaddon's still alive. I'm still collecting clips, and I'm probably gonna release a video of that soon. And then once I've gotten enough clips and I feel happy about it, or it dies or whatever, I'll move on to the next ship, which I think it's like Absolution or something. But yeah, I'm gonna try and do that from like A to Z. I don't know how long it'll take, and Phil's gonna try and do the same thing, but starting at Z. So his first ship is a Zealot.
Yeah, never flown a Zealot before. I'm actually pretty excited because like I've thought about getting a Zealot before, and I was like, I just don't have a good reason to.
Yeah, definitely. And like for some of the cheaper ships, I'll probably fly multiple iterations of them, and maybe even try and put them in roles that they're not supposed to be. Like I don't know, because I got the idea from looking at my losses and being like, holy crap, like look at all these Execure losses that I had, like 5 Execure losses in a row, and like One of them was 100 MN Execure. One of them was a battle Execure to be used in a remote rep gang. Another one was like generic,
So boss.
Execure or whatever. So I was like, damn, there's like 3 or 4 different uses for the Execure. I'm like, I should just fucking fly Execures for a week and then fly a different ship for a week and just like get used to it. And then I'm like, yes, I'm just gonna start from A to Z. So maybe next wormhole fight, my Abaddon's gonna make an appearance because it's now in the wormhole. People will be like, "We need armor T3s." I land on the hole in an Abaddon, and they're gonna have to deal with it. But fuck them, roll them out. But it's just
We're committed, guys.
yep. We're no turning back. But yeah. So I don't know. In conclusion, I know the last 2 casts we didn't actually set a ship to fly, but I don't know. Like last cast, I should have said like, "Oh, fly 100 MN stuff. It'll be fun," but I didn't actually get excited until like the end of it. So I don't know. I would say try and I think battleships, man. People should try and fly a battleship. Spill, you have a full gank dummy somewhere, don't you?
Somewhere on my alt. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
1200 DPS. It has like 3 mag stabs, 3 German damage amplifiers, and like a full rack of neutrons. Oh, it's just fucking ridiculous.
Dude, yeah. So battleships. I'm gonna try and whelp a battleship. Maybe my Abaddon will still be alive and it'll live forever, but we'll see. I'm gonna lose it in like the next 5 minutes, I bet. But yeah. So
Possibly.
thanks for listening, everyone. Again, the website is thedailyroam.com. The in-game channel is the Daily Roam. We appreciate any feedback you guys have for us on Reddit or in-game or anything. And yeah, keep listening. We appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for the support, guys, and come visit us in the Daily Room. Even if you just want to sit there and chill, we're just down to talk and be bros.
Definitely. All right. Well, we'll see you guys in about a week.